Howdy Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Today we're doing a new video and it's on a topic I'm surprised I haven't done recently. Today we're going to be talking about cancelled animated shows that need to come back. These are cartoons that I either grew up with or cartoons that I thought were really good but they got unjustly cancelled, be it either studio meddling or they just weren't getting in the views, and they most likely will never see the light of day again, which is sad. So I figured why not bring a spotlight to these cartoons and hopefully maybe one day in a perfect world we could get a conclusion to them. So, just for the record, I'm only going to be talking about animated shows. I'm not going to be talking about live action for a couple reasons. For one, it's very rare for a live action show to get cancelled, at least from what I've seen. It's very rare for them to get cancelled. They usually get a lot more attention and respect from Hollywood. They're typically cheaper to make than animated shows, and more often than not, they'll always be like that one live action show that's so popular you just can't cancel it no matter what, even if the studio doesn't like the people writing it or the creatives, or like if there's creative differences or whatever. It's usually very hard to cancel a live action show. And even if they do get cancelled, there's usually a lot of backlash from like the general public and social media, whereas when it comes to animated shows, there's not a lot of fanfare when one gets the boot. So I figured, hey, why not speak up for the little guy in this case? The only exceptions I know of like live action shows that are cancelled are usually the Netflix ones, which only run for like 2 seasons, then the network decides to cut them because they weren't getting in the ratings or whatever. I know like Netflix is a whole other story because they do poor marketing and whatnot. That's a whole kind of worms I don't want to touch today, so I'm not going to be talking about those shows. Instead, I'm going to be talking about animation because I simply like animation. You know, it's the underdog in the industry, and it really changed my life when I was growing up as a kid, and it's still changing my life today. It's influenced a lot of what I really like in storytelling, and I figured it's time to shine a light on it. And so I figured I'd talk about the shows I want to see come back because I do think they deserve a proper conclusion, especially because these are top tier quality. I will also have some honorable mentions of shows that were cancelled, but I don't really want to see them come back as much as the ones on the list. It's not a very long list, so without further ado, let's get into it. Coming in at number 8, we have Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Yeah, I bet you forgot this one existed, didn't you? This was a show focusing on the video game character Pac-Man from the video game series Pac-Man. And it was basically just him and his friends going about normal life, fighting ghosts and whatnot. It's a basically typical action adventure story you'd see in most animated shows at the time. It wants to treat the character with more respect and give them a world to grow in. And I really do think for the most part it did do that job. I haven't really heard much of Pac-Man in like TV shows and movies and whatnot. I think the most I've heard of him is from Pixar. So having an entire show focused around the video game character and trying to grow his simplistic story into a bigger series was an admirable feat that they were doing. The animation really isn't that bad. I really like the colors that were put in this show, and it's clear that it was made from a place of passion. However, this show only lasted 2 seasons with a total of 52 episodes. And the main premise of the show is that basically Pac-Man, the Pac-Man we're following, the teenager, he wanted to go find his parents because he's apparently like the last of the yellow ones in this universe. And so by finding his parents, he would help put an end to the war between ghosts and Pac-Man and whatnot. There's a lot of nonsense going on. But basically that was the gist of the story. He was trying to find his parents who were believed to be dead. And at the end of season 2, he got a huge clue to find his parents, and that was it. We never found out if he went on an adventure to go find them, if he did end up finding them, if he was successful in his adventure, or if he just grew content with the life he was in and found a way to end the war between with the ghosts and Pac people. And so the fate of this show was kind of left up in the air. It was rumored that season 3 would come back in 2017, and then it was shortly announced that the show got cancelled, meaning it never got that conclusion, which is kind of sad because, as I said, there was a lot of passion put into this, and I really enjoyed all of the characters this show had. It really did build a lot of lore around the Pac-Man character, really making it seem bigger than it should be. Again, they managed to get so much story off a simple premise like Pac-Man, because let's face it, in the arcade game, there's not really a story. You're just a yellow ball that goes around eating pellets. So the fact that they were able to create this much lore and story from such a simple thing was admirable, and I would have liked to see it end. Plus, it would be sick hearing this intro again.
The Pac is back, ghost chomping at his feet. Pac's our hero, Pac just can't be beat.
To form in what made Captain Underpants special. Okay, so this is an interesting show to talk about, and I know a lot of you probably have never heard of this one, but this show is called Last Kids on Earth. The basic premise of this show is that monsters hop out from a portal and basically the apocalypse happens all over Earth, and essentially leaving these last few kids as the survivors of said apocalypse. So the show takes place during the post-apocalypse, basically, not when the world is ending, but after everyone has either died or ran away, and these kids are the only ones left in the city. I will say, it is very much a basic Saturday morning cartoon. I mean, look at the animation, the styles, and all that stuff. Like, tell me it doesn't reek of Saturday morning cartoons. I will say this show does have one key going for it, is that you don't really know what to expect. Watching this show, I didn't really know how it was gonna end. I know if the main lesson or ending of the show is gonna be we are gonna have to learn to survive with these monsters, to befriend them, and to basically survive the apocalypse, or are we gonna reverse the apocalypse? Are the monsters gonna all die or go home, and are we gonna start afresh on this new world? I really like the concept of kids trying to survive in a world that they're not familiar with, and that they have to do everything in their power to start afresh, basically. It's kind of like what I've heard from Lord of the Flies, but way more G-rated, you know? So I really like the show because of that. You don't really know what to expect and what supernatural elements they're gonna bring in. Because whenever the show does bring in a supernatural element, they always seem to be holding the reins on it because they know, yeah, for sure, kids will not survive this. So let's give off a bit of what we can and what we know they can survive, thus making every small victory that much more impactful in the end. Now, my issues with this show do come with the characters, especially with the main character himself. I hate him. He is so cringy. And I get it, it's a kid's show, but every other line he says either just makes me cringe or roll my eyes, especially whenever they try to introduce his love interest with the girl. I think her name is June. It's just not working. I do, however, like his best friend, Quint, the smart guy of the team, and the bully. This show does employ one of my favorite tropes in storytelling, where they make the bully one of the friends, where formerly he was really just this dirtbag, irredeemable guy, but now, because of circumstances, he does learn to soften up with the rest of the team and become friends with them. Hell, by the end of the series at least, he does end up becoming one of the best friends with the nerd, which is something we don't see a lot in media these days. I, for one, could never write a story of a bully becoming good, but it is one of my favorite tropes to see in media, so I'm glad that this show employs it. Now we have to talk about its cancellation, because that is a sad fact about this show, is that there was so much promise for it and Netflix was really pushing it, because believe it or not, the first part of the show was a movie. They had like a whole premiere movie and everything, and then they had 2 more seasons before it got cancelled. Now, looking at the background of this show, I kind of do understand why it got cancelled, because this show is based on a book series as well, and there are like 8 books last I checked, and every season of this show is based on one of those books. The premiere movie was based on the first book, and season 2 and 3, I call them season 2 and 3, but really they're season 1 and 2, are based on the next 2 books. So I do understand why it would be expensive and why it would be risky for Netflix to basically give up an entire season to adapt each and every one of those books. It just doesn't seem that worth it in the long run. And also considering that this show never really had that big of an audience to begin with, having 7 seasons based off 7 different books doesn't really seem profitable in the end. So I do kind of understand why Netflix had to pull the plug. It just would not work to have 1 season based on each book. Maybe if they adapted 2 books per season, it would work better, but 1 book per season, yeah, that one's a bit much even for me. So I do understand why they made the decisions they did, but it is kind of sad we would never get to see this series conclude. Coming in at number 5, we have the Teen Titans, and this is where I really want to see these shows come back for real. Now, we all know why Teen Titans should come back. It's a great show, and they adapted the Teen Titans very well from the comics, at least from what I've heard. I haven't read the comics. I do know that they had to age it down. They had to age the Titans down a bit just for younger audiences and make the tone a bit lighter. But for what they were able to release, it was really good stuff. I love the camaraderie in the team, and I love how they all act. Like, yeah, we are one big superhero family, and that each member has a role. Cyborg and Beast were the goof-offs, Raven is the dark one with secrets, Starfire is the glue that holds the team together, and Robin is the leader. It's your basic 5-man band that really just goes to show why this formula works for all time, basically. And I've said it before, but this is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, if not one of the best superhero team shows out there. However, we all know how this show got cancelled. This show had 5 seasons with 65 episodes, if I remember correctly, and we all know that it ended with Tara, a character who was believed to be dead earlier in the season, coming back but having no memory of her past life, leaving Beast Boy depressed and just kind of running off into the white void at the end of it. Now, honestly, as much as I would love this show to come back, and everyone else would love this show to come back with a 6th and final conclusive season, there is an easy way to fix this. We probably wouldn't be asking for a 6th season if they just fixed one thing about season 5. If they fixed this one thing about it, no one would be asking for a 6th season. And that is the last episode of season 5. Because for those who don't remember, season 5 basically had 2 finales. The first finale was with the Titans, and Titans is taking out oh gosh, who was it? There was like a villain superhero team. I'm forgetting their name. And they basically win the day. So now all of the east side of America, if I remember, now is full of superheroes, and all these superheroes came together to beat the bad guy. And that would have been a great place for the series to end, showing that the Teen Titans were able to bring in more people to their crew and fight for good. However, we also had another finale, and that was the last episode of season 5 where Tara got revealed. Honestly, if they were not planning on making a sixth season, they could have just removed that final episode entirely. If they ended the series with Beast Boy and Robin and whatever else, bringing all the superheroes together to take down villains once and for all, that would have been an amazing series finale. That would have been a great ending to the series overall. However, they had to bring in the last episode to end off on a cliffhanger so that they could make a season 6. So, in my opinion, all they had to do was just remove that last episode. If they removed that last episode, and they never made it in the first place, no one would be asking for Teen Titans Season 6. A lot of people say it should have ended in Season 4 with the whole Trigon thing going on, and I do think, yeah, that was big enough to end the series on, but I think having a nice little epilogue season afterward would have hit even harder as we say goodbye to these characters one last time. I just feel like that last episode is what got everyone riled up, and if they didn't make it because they weren't sure if they were going to get another season or not, I do believe this would have been a nice ending to the franchise. Still, as much as everyone else, I would like to see these characters come back and treated with the same respect that they were way back when. And honestly, unlike the other shows on this list, I'm not too mad at this one getting cancelled, mostly due to the fact that it had a conclusive movie. It had a finale movie, that being Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo, where it basically made Starfire and Robin canon. And honestly, because of that movie exists, I'm not mad. I'm not too mad about it. Coming in at number 4, we have Inside Job, and this is one I will get mad about. For those who think that this series looks a bit familiar to them, don't worry, it is. This series is made by people who worked on Cartoon Network, on shows like Regular Show and Steven Universe, if I'm not wrong. Therefore, of course, they had to bring their talent here. This is definitely one of the best adult animated shows out there, simply due to the fact that it actually bothers to focus on its characters and the humor of its setting. Basically, Inside Job is a show talking about conspiracy theories. You know how we have all those conspiracy theories like, oh, Atlantis exists, or the earth is flat, or, you know, the moon landing was fake. This show is basically making fun of those conspiracy theories, and it actually does them well. You know why? Because it uses those conspiracy theories to make jokes, people. It's not all raunchy humor. They actually try and be smart with the humor they make, and that's why I love this show so much. Not to mention, you know, the action in the show is actually pretty good, with the overall story and characters being entertaining. I really do love this show, and there is so much to enjoy about it. And a lot of people do. This show managed to garner a huge fan base. However, the problem with it is that it got cancelled. So, I don't know how to classify it. A lot of people say that there was only one season split into 2. But seeing as this season came out like a year apart from the other, I like to call it 2 seasons. So yes, I'm calling it 2 seasons. Don't ask me. So this show got cancelled after its second season dropped. Literally 2 weeks after the second season came out, Netflix announced that they were cancelling it and they were not going to make a third season. Which is sad, because season 2 did end on a cliffhanger for what the future of the series would hold. And I could see this show easily lasting to like maybe season 4 or 5. And the creators are heartbroken that they were not able to move on with this season. They even like released a bunch of tweets saying, yeah, we never got to give them the ending we thought they deserved. And of course, Netflix, up to this day, still makes horrible adult shows like Big Mouth, yet they leave this one in the dust, and it frustrates me. There was clearly a lot of passion and love that went into this series, and I really do want to see it continue and how all these characters come to their emotional resolutions. But because we live in a world where every form of animation that exists is for kids, Netflix won't allow it. Which is sad, because like I said, this is one of the best adult animated shows out there that show that you can do a lot with the medium of animation. And the fact that we're never going to get a conclusion does break my heart. So yes, I, as much as any other people, I'm sad that this show will never get a season 3. But for what it's worth, it really was an amazing show, and I still love it to this date.